The story of the boy in the box is not just a cold case. It is a permanent scar on the history of American criminology. For 65 years, he was known only as America's unknown child, a nameless soul, discarded like trash in a quiet corner of Philadelphia. Despite thousands of leads, countless hours of police work, and the evolution of forensic science, the question of who killed him remains a dark, haunting void. The discovery at Fox Chase. The horror began on February 25th, 1957. Audiency, the Fox Chase section of Philadelphia. Along a desolate stretch of Susquehanna Road, the woods were a graveyard for unwanted items. A young man named Frederick Bonosis was checking his muskrat traps when he spotted a large cardboard box lying in the underbrush. Inside, he saw what he thought was a doll. Upon closer inspection, he realized with a jolt of terror that it was the body of a small boy. The child was tucked inside a sturdy cardboard box that had once contained a baby's bassinet from JCPenney. He was naked, wrapped in a cheap, worn flannel blanket. When the police arrived, they were met with a sight that even veteran detectives could not forget. The boy appeared to be between 4 and 6 years old. He was severely malnourished, weighing only 30 pounds, and his skin was covered in bruises. But the most chilling detail was his hair. It had been recently and crudely chopped off. Thick clumps of golden brown hair still clung to his sticky, cold skin, suggesting that his killer had tried to alter his appearance either just before or immediately after he died. His hands and feet were wrinkled, a sign that they had been submerged in water for a long time shortly before death. The first 1,000 leads, the Philadelphia Police Department launched one of the most massive investigations in the city's history. They were certain that someone, somewhere, was looking for this boy. They took a post-mortem photograph of the child, cleaned him up, dressed him in typical boy's clothing, and placed the image on 400,000 posters. These flyers were sent to every police station, hospital, and orphanage in the United States. Detectives checked the footprints of every baby born in Philadelphia hospitals for the previous 6 years. They visited every school and kindergarten. They looked into the lives of every foster child in the state. Yet the silence was deafening. No one came forward. No one reported him missing. It was as if the boy had never existed. The physical evidence was equally frustrating. The JCPenney box was traced back to a store in Upper Darby. The manager recalled selling the bassinets, but of the 12 sold, only one remained untraceable, bought by a man who paid in cash and left no name. The blanket found with the boy was traced to a factory in Quebec, Canada, but thousands of such blankets had been sold across the East Coast, making it a dead end. The theory of the foster home. As the years turned into decades, a few primary theories began to dominate the investigation. One of the most persistent involved a local foster home located just 1.5 miles from the site where the body was found. A medical examiner's investigator, Remington Bristow, became obsessed with this theory. He visited the foster home and found a bassinet similar to the one sold in the JCPenney box. He also saw blankets hanging on the clothesline that matched the one found with the boy. Bristow believed that the boy was the son of the man who ran the foster home and his stepdaughter. He theorized that the boy's death was an accident, and the family, fearing they would lose their other foster children if the death were reported, decided to hide the body. However, despite Bristow's lifelong conviction, DNA testing in the late 1990s, and interviews with the family, members eventually cleared them. The foster home theory, while compelling, lacked the physical evidence to link them to the murder. The M confession, a chilling revelation. In 2002, a new and terrifying lead emerged. A woman, identified only as Martha or M, contacted the police through her psychiatrist. She claimed her mother had purchased the boy from his biological parents in 1954. Martha's story was harrowing. She alleged that her mother was a monster who kept the boy, whose name she said was Jonathan, in a state of constant abuse. Martha described how the boy was kept in the basement, beaten regularly, and never allowed to go outside. She claimed that on the night of his death, the boy had vomited in the kitchen after eating baked beans. In a fit of rage, her mother had allegedly slammed the boy's head against the floor until he was lifeless. What made Martha's story so credible were the details. She mentioned that her mother had cut the boy's hair, a detail known to the police, but not widely publicized. She also mentioned that the boy had eaten baked beans. The original autopsy had indeed found remains of baked beans in the child's stomach. Furthermore, she explained that they had been interrupted by a passing motorist while dumping the body, which matched the report of a witness from 1957. However, the investigation hit a wall. Martha had a long history of severe mental illness. When the police searched the house she grew up in, they found no evidence. Neighbors who lived next door for decades swore they never saw a little boy in that house. Without physical proof, the M theory remained just that, a theory. The DNA breakthrough, a name at last. For 65 years, the boy lay in a grave marked America's Unknown Child at Ivy Hill Cemetery. Every year on the anniversary of his discovery, the public would leave flowers and toys. The case had become a symbol of a forgotten life. But in 2022, science finally did what detectives could not. Using advanced forensic genealogy, investigators were able to build a massive family tree from the boy's DNA. On December 8, 2022, Philadelphia Police Commissioner Danielle Outlaw made an announcement that shocked the world. The boy in the box finally had a name. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Joseph was born on January 13, 1953. He was the child of a couple from West Philadelphia. Researchers found that Joseph had several half-siblings still living in the area. The identification was a monumental achievement, but it brought about a new set of questions: the unsolved murder. While the world celebrated that Joseph was no longer unknown, the eye-bite investigation into his death became even more complicated. Both of Joseph's biological parents were dead. The family members who were still alive claimed they knew nothing about a child born in 1953. The records of Joseph's short life were almost non-existent. There were no school records, no vaccination records, and no evidence that he had ever been part of a normal social circle. It appeared that Joseph had been a hidden child, kept away from the eyes of the world from the moment of his birth. Because of the passage of time, nearly 7 decades almost, every person who could have been a direct suspect is now dead. The police have the name of the victim. They have his family tree, but they are still missing the killer. The bruises on Joseph's head and the scars on his body prove he was a victim of sustained horrific violence. Yet, the person who held the scissors to cut his hair, the person who drove him to those woods, and the person who left him in a cardboard box to freeze in the February cold has likely escaped earthly justice. The legacy of Joseph Zarelli. Today, the headstone at Ivy Hill Cemetery has been updated. It no longer just says unknown child. It bears the name Joseph Augustus Zarelli. This case serves as a grim reminder of the failures of the past. In 1957, There were no centralized databases, no Amber Alerts, and no sophisticated child protective services. Joseph fell through every possible crack in the system. The Boy in the Box case remains open. Detectives still hope that perhaps a diary, a deathbed confession, or a long-hidden family secret will finally reveal the truth. Until then, Joseph's story stands as a testament to the thousands of nameless victims, and a reminder that while science can give us a name, only the truth can give us peace. Joseph Augustus Zarelli was a child who was never loved in life, but in death, he became a son to the entire city of Philadelphia. His name will never be forgotten again, but the mystery of his final moments continues to haunt the dark woods of Fox Chase.